Hey, what's happening out there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Robert Phoenix with a bit of a froggy voice today, as the weather has significantly changed here in Austin, Texas, and it looks like the hot, muggy period, the liminal weather between summer and fall, where we still get some heat and a little bit of condensation, that seems to be passing now. We're headed into the sort of cooler phase here in the Southwest, and with it, my voice seems to be also responding to the change of season. By the way, before I go any further, I just want to thank people who have been really pretty kind and supportive when I talked about this medieval malady of the toe gout, which is, pretty painful stuff. I don't know if it's, I've never had a kidney stone. My father used to get them, and man, that poor bastard, he was in such pain. I had no idea what he was going through. But I kind of do now, because it's like having a kidney stone in your toe, and a bunch of them. But I just want to give a shout out to Dave Limiker, who is the proprietor, the sole proprietor of Vigor, V-I-G-R, and Dave's two main products are Velvet Antler and Chaga Mushroom. And, excuse me, I brewed up some Chaga Mushroom tea, and I blended that with some cherry juice, some tart cherry juice, so I started to make my own kind of blend, my own cocktail. And it's had an amazing effect on my extremities, let's put it that way. So I encourage you, I heartily encourage you to explore the healing properties of chaga. And if you are interested, you should go to Dave's website, VIGR, and you can check out his premium grade chaga that you can grind up and make into a very nice tea. It's actually not a bad tasting tea. And just the overall concern and care that comes from the listeners, just really grateful, a lot of gratitude. So anyway, I just wanted to share with you the latest updates with my toe. Let's take a look at what's going on in the world. It seems like on Mondays now we wake up and there's a disaster of some sort, a human disaster. The human disaster that took place in Las Vegas 2 weeks ago, and now we have an environmental disaster taking place in California. I woke up yesterday and I got a frantic text from my good friend Linda out in California telling me that two friends, people that I know from that area, got their laptops and some financial records and barely made it out of their house. And I'm like, I had no idea, right? What was the context around this? And then it came to find out that there's this raging fire that's taking place in Northern California. So they've lost their home, and it's a rental property. It's not theirs, but I know these people, and these are people that have great things, and things that are connected to and attached to their family. Lots of history, lots of photos, lots of clothes. I can only imagine what's going through, their lives right now. I mean, it's a holy shit moment that many of us don't often have to deal with, but them and a number of other families are having to deal with this. I don't know. I think it's a dastardly moment. I've looked into fires and arson, and most of them are caused and set on purpose. There's a term for it that we've been using for hurricanes and even to some extent earthquakes. It's called disaster capitalism. And that's when something happens with the natural world, and out of that tragic event, there is some other agenda that's being pushed. Now, I don't know what the agenda would be in Northern and Southern California, where there are simultaneous fires breaking out. This, by the way, is not uncommon. When there are fires happening, especially in California, it's almost always in more than one location. One of the things that does is it makes it very difficult to focus on and concentrate on just one fire. When I've told the story before, when I lived in San Diego, it was like we were living in a rung of hell for about a week with the various fires that were burning not far from our house. I mean, you drive down the freeway and there's a fire in the middle of the freeway. It's like, how the hell did that fire get there? You know, fire on the hill, fire on the other side of the hill, fire down the road, fire, you know, on the other side of San Diego, you know, fire in Simi Valley. What it does is it really bursts the seams of resources. It makes it very difficult to focus on any one of these fires. And I've long been an advocate of a Soviet or Russian plane. The Russian planes are these huge, I mean, they're humongous freight planes. I mean, it's like they store huge amounts of freight, and they've wired these planes up to take huge amounts of water. I mean, just massive dumps. You know, it makes our firefighting planes look like, you know, hummingbirds compared to pelicans. You know, it's that much of a difference. And I'm like, you know, California is a state that is plagued by fires constantly. What would it cost to have two of these planes as part of the California firefighting kind of, you know, air defense? I mean, it's like, give me a break. Buy two of these planes, Jerry Brown, put one in Northern California, one in Southern California, and then have some crews that you know, you're into bringing people into California from other countries, so why don't you bring some Russians over, have them actually take care of the planes. I'm sure there's plenty of Russians that are already there, some of which might actually have some working knowledge of the planes. So, but if you want to, you know, feel good and virtue signal and open those borders, bring them on over, take care of the planes. And that way you've got these two massive planes that can be used to dump huge amounts of water. But of course, it makes too much sense. So here we have people in Northern California and Southern California scrambling. Now, I do know some people that are okay, people that I've had the pleasure of working with on a client basis or just connecting through on Facebook with, and they're okay. But they also had a small earthquake yesterday as well in Northern California. It was 4.4. That's not too small. I mean, it's a good little rumbler. And it was in Alum Rock Park, which is a park that I used to go to when I was a kid, when I lived in San Jose. And Alum Rock Park was one point in time, it was one of these resorts, a spa, up in the hills of San Jose, and run basically by Germans. Germans always run the spas. They find the spas, they run the spas, they like their spas. So we had a little earthquake yesterday in California as well. So what are we doing now? What are we doing now? We're drawing our attention to California, which, by the way, the entire planet is covered with an aluminum accelerant that comes through the geoengineering, which makes these fires much hotter than normal. So the blazes are very, very difficult to contain and deal with. I mean, they talk about how quickly these fires move now, much faster than other fires in the past, and just the intense heat. In fact, I believe there's a movie out right now that has to do with a firefighting team. It's so weird how the movies also kind of intersect with reality. You know, we have Stephen Paddock, who I'm going to talk about again today. We have Stephen Paddock and what does that sound? It's a kid. I love it. Anyway, where was I? Where was my thought? Oh yeah. So on the heels of what happened in Las Vegas, well, actually just before what happened in Las Vegas, the Tom Cruise movie Made in America, which is about Barry Seal, The just how shall we say this, the flashy and bodacious pilots who basically worked for the CIA, the Clintons, the Bushes, you name it, the DEA. He worked for Pablo Escobar, whoever paid him. You know, he was flying cocaine out of Central America and into Mena, Arkansas. And that's part of the public record. I'm not making any of this up. There's no speculation here. Barry Seal talked about it, wrote about it. Apparently he had photos of both Jeb and George Bush walking with a kilo each of cocaine under each one another's arm. So each of them had a kilo of coke that they were carrying off one of Barry Seal's planes. He got a picture of them. And the IRS was after Barry Seal, and he said to Bush, hey, look, get him off my butt, or I'm going to release these pictures. And I guess you don't do that to the Bush family. Barry Seal wasn't long for the world after that. But what I'm trying to kind of paint a picture of here a little bit, you know, and I'm not saying that this is how these things are plotted out. Like, okay, let's do this Vegas thing on the heels of this Barry Seal movie. Oh, let's start some fires in California. And I don't know the name of the movie that's out right now about the firefighting teams, but oh yeah, let's do that. We'll release this movie, and we'll conflate and confuse, and we'll blend these versions of reality, which does occur, by the way, and gets us to think about what kind of world we're actually living in, what kind of dimensional interface we're dealing with here. But it does happen. So we're, you know, right now we've got these fires in California, and we're not talking about Stephen Paddock. We're not talking about Las Vegas, and we should be. This is an event that needs to be talked about. We can't let it go because it's right in front of us. It's the first official false flag under the Trump administration. There might have been one other. Which was this old dude in Cleveland with this like cell phone murder. I mean, it was kind of a bizarre thing. But I'm not really counting that. This is the first official one. We had a bunch under Obama. It was a false flag every 2 weeks. You know, what Randy and Emily and I talked about this. People are going through compassion fatigue. I mean, think about it. It's like, oh God, here we go. There's another event. This is not to take away from, you know, something that's happening that's real, that's suffering, and people are going through deep shit. You know, Northern and Southern California, people are losing their homes, their lives are being altered irrevocably. You know, some of which people will rebound. We're strong. You know, we're humans. We're tough. You know, it's like don't underestimate our ability to rebound from situations and grow and get stronger. Yes, it does happen. But if you get hit with wave after wave after wave after wave, and think about this just from a psychological perspective. Let's say this isn't your life, right? Well, let me take a little sip of coffee here. Let's say your life is pretty good. You're employed, you're married or in a relationship, and your partner, husband, wife, whomever, they're employed. And basically the two of you enjoy what you do. You've got kids maybe, and they're healthy. Maybe they're grown up. Maybe they're in some form of school, middle school or high school, but they're okay too. They don't have any major defects, drug issues. But basically, all in all, your life is not bad, right? Considering. And yeah, there are people that have these lives. It's true. Or maybe you're, single, but you like what you do. You make decent money. Your kids are okay. Maybe you're in a relationship or not. It doesn't matter. But you're doing all right. Okay. I mean, let's just establish a baseline here. Now you've got all these things in the world, but they're not yours. Your house hasn't burned down. You didn't die in Las Vegas. You didn't lose anybody in Las Vegas. You don't give a shit about the NFL. But all these things are coming at you. Event after event after event after event. And so even if your life is kind of an island of sanity, we're having to deal now with what appears to be a 24/7 crisis hotline at the collective level. And that can be really draining. Really draining. Why? Question mark. Because we're humans and we care. We have hearts and we do our best to keep the vessels open. Whether you're a bleeding heart liberal or you're on the other side of the spectrum, and let's say your heart bleeds for Jesus. This is kind of what we're here to do. We're here to open that vessel and keep it open. And so when we do, whether it's through some form of secular humanized training and inculcation, or whether it's because, we're living a spiritual path or whatever it is, we do our best to keep the heart open, and then our heart gets pounded. Our heart gets pounded. And so over the days and the weeks that follow, what do we get? We get compassion fatigue. Days, weeks, and months. Compassion fatigue. We've been in compassion fatigue since 9/11/2001. But lately, over the last 3 years, particularly under Obama, and now apparently under Trump, we have these events that pound away at our hearts. And then what happens to people? Even people who have decent lives that I've kind of detailed. They're not like spectacular. They're not flying off to an exotic locale for a vacation every 6 months. They're not buying, leasing new cars, new Cadillacs every 3 years. And if you do keep yourself insulated from the outside world, and none of it matters, well, that may be a strategy. And it may be a strategy that many of us will have to explore. It's quite possible. It's quite possible. Because at the end of the day, as they say, what is really important is our ability to sustain and to stay alive and to be accessible for ourselves and the people that we love. And so our circle of trust begins to get smaller and smaller and smaller until ultimately it's just the most immediate people inside of it. And maybe that's where all this is going. So how do you deal with compassion fatigue? Every single week now there seems to be something. How do you deal with it? Well, that's an open-ended question for all of you to consider. Obviously, the first place, home base, is your body and your health. You've got to stay healthy. You've got to be able to get up in the morning and do what you do, whatever it is. Find dignity, self-respect, love, actualization. Yeah. And we better do it while we can. It's really important. Because the way things are evolving from a technological perspective, the world that we are living in is going to be really, really different in 3 to 4 years. When we get deep into Uranus and Taurus, by the time we hit 2024, Saturn and Pluto's in Aquarius, and in 2020, I think it's 2022, Saturn's in Aquarius, and we're moving into the brave new world. I mean, we're already there, but those are the targets in the future that the architects of this world are focused on. They're very important astrological dates because they implicate a cultural shift that is going to be unlike anything you've ever seen before. So we're all being groomed in some ways for it. Now, there are people who will not be able to make it through that shift because we're just antiquated. And I'm not saying I'm one of them. We're antiquated. We have ideas, these quaint ideas of ownership, like owning our music, or owning our homes, or owning our cars, owning the ability to drive. Yeah, those are antiquated and quaint ideas, aren't they? Well, those ideas are going to be challenged by the people that are planning the world that we are theoretically going to inhabit, and our children and our grandchildren are certainly going to inhabit. It's going to be a very, very different place. So while you can, bring some dignity and bring some love and bring some life and light to the things that you do. Do them as well as you can. Keep your body healthy. Look at your diet. We've talked about this before. The diet is a revelation. I know. I've changed mine. And it's been an amazing journey, to be honest with you. I've gone through, oh my God, a decade of pretty severe back pain. In the last 2 years, really just flaring up and acting up more than it's ever been. And due to the fact that I've stopped eating inflammatory foods, i.e. the legume family, the back pain has gone away. I mean, it's gone. The amount of inflammation that is been in that area is just gone. So again, I urge you to look at your diet. Not every diet works for everybody. Some people need more vegetables. Some people need more protein. Some people need different kinds of protein. Figure it out. Stay away from gluten, though. I don't think gluten is going to serve anybody. Even if you have the gluten gene that breaks it down, maybe you can still indulge in it. Wish I had it. That would be great. Let's talk about Las Vegas a little bit. A few more things are starting to come out. I'm about ready to put up a post on Las Vegas on the website. I've actually finished it. I just need to format it, put some graphics in. I get into Stephen Paddock's chart. I talked about it a little bit on Sunday night. And that was, it was good. It was exploratory for sure. I also get into Jason Aldean's chart, which is quite interesting because it's almost like it's an accompaniment to the whole Paddock experience. They're very connected in in an unusual way. Well, astrologically, they're connected. Jason Aldean has his Venus in Aries, which is in its fall, by the way, at 20 degrees. So if you look, and Stephen Paddock is a 19-degree Aries sun. So there's this Venus-Sun conjunction between Paddock and Aldean. And Aldean's got some fascinating stuff in his chart. He's got Chiron in Aries, South Node in Aries, and Venus in Aries, and opposing the true node in Jupiter. And true node in Libra, and transiting Jupiter has been on and around his true node. In fact, it goes direct, I think, in the next couple of days. And what's fascinating is that in the South Node, and I talk about this in the piece, the South Node in Aries, that's his point of vulnerability. So the South Node in any sign, that's your vulnerable place. That and Chiron for different reasons. He's got Chiron on his South Node, and he's got Venus on his South Node. Jason Aldean might be the skeleton key to the whole event. Because what does he do on the heels of this Vegas thing? He goes to New York, and he opens on Saturday Night Live. He sings "I Won't Back Down" by Tom Petty. Oh my God. I mean, that in and of itself should be completely outlawed. He's appropriating Tom Petty's song. And what is he not backing down against? Is he not backing down against some random middle-aged white guy who has absolutely zero motive to pick up these massive amounts of guns and just start going off on people? Is he not going to back down from that? What's he not backing down to? Like ignorance, hate, these wonderful intangibles that self-interested groups love to prop up as their public enemy number 1 and 2, ignorance and hate, as if there's some kind of disembodied condition that is a defective component in the human experience. Yeah, I don't know what he's not backing down from. But I tell you right now, if Tom Petty was alive, he wouldn't like it. I guarantee you, he wouldn't like his song being used in that moment. Now, what's interesting about that, of course, Saturday Night Live is a progressive incubator. I mean, all they do is take shots at Trump and anything related to Trump. They're just a progressive incubator. Lorne Michaels has long been allied with the left and progressive politics. And that, you know what? Hey, it's part of America. You know, that shtick is part of America. It's getting old, though. That's another form of fatigue, isn't it? Comedic fatigue. We have compassion fatigue and comedic fatigue. Whether it's Jimmy Kimmel or Colbert or Alec Baldwin, it's just comedic fatigue. It's like, yeah, okay, another broadside against Trump, ha ha ha. You know, the broadside against Alex Jones. Alex Jones, by the way, is very broadsideable. So is Trump, for that matter. But we just, you know, there's just comedic fatigue. And at some point, people just don't care anymore. You know, it's like Colbert with the, you know, what happened at the Emmys. People just don't care. It's like, really, we're going on about this? But they don't care that you don't care. Just remember that. They don't care that you don't care. They never did. So there's Jason Aldean opening for Saturday Night Live, you know, the progressive incubator. Guess what? Jason Aldean was supposed to be not in New York City, not at 30 Rock. He was supposed to be in Las Vegas that night, and he was supposed to open for Dana White's MMA fight, big fight in Las Vegas. Now, he could have sung Tom Petty, Won't Back Down there, and it might have a bit of a different meaning, like Won't Back Down, because I'm getting up on a stage where I just was in Las Vegas. I'm not backing down, but no. I'm over here in New York City at 30 Rock, and all of a sudden I become this figure that has been transposed from country and western genre idiom, right, to which is God, Guns, and Country, to opening for SNL, who are the media Trump hit squad. And Dana White's pissed. You know what he said? He said, "You better not come back to Vegas." That's what he said about Jason Aldean. And that gets into all of his South Node stuff in Aries. I talk about this in my post. And I was writing about it last night, and then all of a sudden, I see what Jason Aldean did, and I see what Dana White said. I was like, oh, well, there we go. The proof is in the pudding. Jason Aldean knows a lot more than he's letting on. Let's put it that way. But, you know, there's that famous finger across the lips. You can't tell. Ain't happening. So we need to keep, I mean, with all due respect, and prayers going out to the people in California, you know, yet another week of disaster. In the United States post-eclipse, we can just do a checklist. Not looking good. Not looking good post-eclipse. Yeah. Trump, by the way, is gone. He's gone. I'm going to do a show tomorrow, and we're going to get into what happened to Trump. I need to prepare for it. I need all my heavy ammo because I think Donald Trump has been replaced. Yep. We'll get into it tomorrow. Which is why the false flag probably happened, by the way. And the people, the same people that did 9/11, this false flag, the same people that did JFK did 9/11 too. It's all linked together. Intergenerational. The last few sips of the morning cup of instant coffee. Yes, I'm drinking instant coffee today because I ran out of the good stuff. But it's all right. The desired effect still kicks in. A little quick update on Miss Jemele Hill. Remember I was talking about how she's the most powerful person on the planet last week? Well, apparently I spoke too soon. Because Jemele Hill got suspended by ESPN for 2 whole weeks. Jemele was feeling pretty powerful. She must have heard my show. She says, I am the most powerful woman in the world. Let's go march on Dallas, Texas, because Jerry Jones has said to his players, you either stand or you're off the team. Jerry's two-faced. But you know what? He had a call with Trump. And now the Dolphins, I forget who their owner is, Steven, what's his name? He's a real estate developer from New York. He's pals with Trump. Anyway, the Dolphins are going to stand. Now the Cowboys are going to stand. What are other teams going to do? Anyway, Jerry Jones made that declaration. And Jemele Hill said, we need to boycott the sponsors of the Dallas Cowboys. Boy, she was real fired up. She was vehement about that. Well, guess what happens? You can protest. You can talk about the president. You can call the president a racist, a bigot, a white supremacist, whatever you want to call him. You can call him that. But you get into the NFL's money. Oh boy! Now you're barking up a wrong tree, Jemele. Yeah, you're getting into their wheelhouse. Sponsors. And I tell you, it speaks in some ways to the power of Jemele Hill. She's a 0 degrees Capricorn, by the way, if you're keeping score at home. Born on the same day, if I'm not mistaken, as Jim Harbaugh. If I'm not mistaken. Oh, she might be born a day earlier. Anyway. I have to check a chart, but I think it's 0 Capricorn. 21st of January. But anyway, she probably could have led a boycott, sponsor, and a revolt. Well, ESPN, by the way, owned by Disney, and they have, their skin in the game of their agenda. They decided to politicize their sports casts. They got rid of most of the old guard. They went straight after the millennials, trying to keep the millennials tuned in, give them the millennial program, and the people that the millennials would like to listen to, which pander to their tastes, theoretical tastes in politics. And so ESPN has been, very complicit and very, very active in this arena, in this agenda, making, Caitlyn Jenner the athlete of the year, promote. You look at their body issues. ESPN has gone the extra mile to move from far left, pretty far from the center. And we all know that Disney is the generator of memes and dreams, themes that change and shape and shift the consciousness of our youth, from Britney Spears to Miley Cyrus to any number of movies that move the needle in ways in which, just not the good old days, if you know what I'm saying. Anyway, that's Disney, and they're complicit in all this in terms of shaping culture. Anyway, they own ESPN, Disney, ABC, MTV. They're all part of the same media group, so they've gone the extra mile, right? So now they suspend, but they have their limits. They have their limits, and Jemele Hill crossed that line, which is a money line. She got suspended. Now Al Sharpton is coming out saying, we've got to boycott ESPN. We got to boycott ESPN. Well, good luck with that. Because they've basically been moving an agenda forward, and now you want to boycott not just ESPN, but it's part of that entire group, that Disney, ABC, MTV group. You want to boycott them, then you're boycotting a TV network, essentially, that has created shows that have been particularly crafted for a certain segment and genre, like Blackish and The Mayor, or The Mayor, whatever they're calling it. So now you're going to boycott the network that's associated with that network. These people, they don't understand it. They don't understand the intertwined connection between all these nodes and entities. It's actually fascinating to watch. They're eating themselves is what they're doing. They're cannibalizing their own systems. It happens. And it's fascinating. Fascinating to watch. Anyway, Jamel Hill crossed the line. It was the money line. It has nothing to do with freedom of speech. She can be as free as she wants to cuss out the president on her Twitter account, but when you decide that you're going to take on the money line with ESPN and the NFL, the Dallas Cowboys, she's gone a step too far. I mean, good luck to her and all the activists out there in the world. It is 9:48 here in South Central Texas. Let's see, a couple of pieces of business. Again, I want to just reiterate to everyone who donated with the little pledge drive that we did about a week ago. Boy, that was really pretty amazing. And I thank each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart for the donations. I'm going to be putting up the 11th House Club, which is going to be on the website hopefully today, along with a new post on Las Vegas, Stephen Paddock, Jason Aldean, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That'll be up. I'm also going to be doing a webinar on the 28th of October. It's a Saturday at 1 p.m. And that's going to be over on Astrolata. And I did an interview with Heather Eland Longstreth, who is one of my students. And it was a really good interview. She asked lots of great questions. And I'll be doing another chat with her this week. We haven't figured out a day or a time yet, but that's going to happen. And on the 28th, I'll be doing a webinar on Saturn and Capricorn. And it's not the sexiest aspect, but I'm telling you right now, the next 3 years in the United States of America and in the world are going to be 3 of the most important years of all time. I'm telling you. I'm giving you the heads up, okay? And I'm pretty good at giving the heads up. And there are ramifications on a social level that are going to be profound and mind-blowing, planet-changing, and not always in a way that is going to make you feel comfortable, because that's not what Saturn does, right? And in your own life, you get to work out Saturn and Capricorn, which, for many people, in fact, just about everybody, Saturn and Capricorn is one of these great levelers. And you can, and what I mean by that is that people can really level up with Saturn and Capricorn. But it takes some work, it takes some discipline, it takes some focus, it takes concentration, it takes goals, because that's what Capricorn is, it's goals. So we're going to talk about that exercise. And it won't be new agey. I mean, there may be some elements that may sound like it might be familiar on the New Age front, but this is going to be a lot of pragmatic and intense and focused information. And it'll show you what we're up against, dealing with, and the opportunities that come about when we decide to get serious about our lives. Because that's what Saturn and Capricorn ultimately is going to be about. And it may not be super sexy like a Uranus transit or this Jupiter Scorpio transit. Wow, that's all I got to say, Jupiter Scorpio. But it's vital. It's vital. Saturn and Capricorn is your broccoli, and you must eat it. And for $29.99, I'm going to serve you the best broccoli you've ever had. Anyway, that's going to be on the 28th of this month. It's a Saturday at 1 p.m. That's my webinar, and check it out. This will be my 3rd webinar. I've done one on Chiron, and I did one on the True Node and the South Node. The Chiron webinar was a 2-day event in Philadelphia, outside of Philadelphia, Bucks County. Boy, that was a great weekend. Totally great weekend. So I love the webinars, and I'll have plenty of slides and visuals and all kinds of good stuff for everybody. So check that out. And that's about it. If you like the show, subscribe to it on YouTube. Maybe tell your friends about it, and hopefully we can, in my own way, level up with Saturn and Capricorn in the coming year, and just keep dedicated one day at a time, right? As my great-grandmother once said, a steady drop wears a hole in the rock. All right, that's it for today. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to stay open what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. You're you. Take care of yourself. Try not to fall into too deep of a compassion fatigue hole. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 9/11. That's the new start time, by the way. 9/11. 9/11 every day. We're gonna start to load the 9/11 Truth Magnum. All right, I'm out of here. Have a great day.